Hello everyone, welcome to Zaref Game Dev. And in this part, we are going to look at the tasks related to polymorphism. So the first task is to create a system with different enemy types that move in unique ways, but are controlled by a single common movement. So here we will just create a base enemy class, which is going to have movement script, movement function, and we'll create different derived classes which are going to override those functions to determine how it is going to move. And in the next task, we need to create different interactive pieces like we did with the interactable class in the examples. But here we are going to need to check if it is solved. So the main task is to build a system where a player can interact with different puzzle elements, and first it should have methods, which are the solve, interact, and get in text. And we are going to have three different types of puzzle elements. The first one is a pressure plate, and the next one is a rotary dial. And we are going to have an interaction script related to that inside the player. So let's start by creating our scene. So let's create the scene lesson 10. Off camera. First, we are just going to need four scripts. The first one is a enemy movement script. And then we are going to have ground enemy movement, and flying enemy movement. And to handle all these movements, we are going to have an enemy manager. So let's go inside Visual Studio and let's start creating the scripts for the movements. So first we have the enemy movement. We are going to need to create the namespace. So the scripts don't collide with each other. And our enemy movement is going to be an abstract class. So public float move speed. Then we are going to have enemy tag, not the enemy tag, enemy type. And then we are going to have public abstract void towards player. Instead of player, we can this and v3 target. And as we included abstract method, we need to make the whole class abstract. And similarly, we'll create the movement related to both of them. So let's go to the ground enemy movement. First, we need to put it in the correct namespace, and that it is going to inherit from the enemy movement and move towards, and let's create the start. And here we'll set the enemy type to be equal to the ground enemy. So the direction is direction.y equal to 0, transform.position, v3 dot move towards, transform.position to target position, direction. Move speed into time dot delta time. If direction not equal to 0, direction to v3 dot up. So that should be it for the ground enemy. Now, similarly, let's go to the flying enemy. Flying. And again, it is going to be similar. Enemy movement, and here, enemy type, move towards, and again, it is similar, but as we are flying, the move speed is going to be reduced. So instead of time to delta time, it is also going to be multiplied by 0.5. Now, inside the enemy manager, we need to keep track of all our enemies and move them towards the player. So lesson 10. So first we are going to have enemy movement, and it is going to be enemy movements, public transform, player transform, and inside the start, player transform if player transform is equals to debug dot log error, and similarly if no enemies assigned. And inside the update, for each mm, if player transform is equals to null, for each move towards player transform dot position. Okay, so that should be it for both of them. Now let's go inside Unity, and as it is moving in the XZ plane, we are going to need to move the camera. Now let's create our plane first. And we can assign the add the mesh filter and the mesh renderer. And let's add the tag of player. And here we are going to add the sphere collider and the rigid body with no gravity. And we are also going to need the player movement script here. And the enemy manager. And we'll need to create the enemies. So let's create the light. And let's create the enemy. And both of them are going to be completely similar. So let's create a mesh filter and a mesh renderer. And there is not going to be any collision with the enemies, so we can just leave that as it is. But we are going to need to attach the ground enemy script, and we'll just call it. We don't need to call it. Let's set the move speed to be 2, and we can duplicate this ground enemy multiple times and position them randomly in -4 to 4, and similarly randomly -4 to 4. Mm. And similarly, we can duplicate this enemies. And instead of having the ground enemy movement, it is going to have the flying enemy movement. And again, we'll position them randomly. Mhm. So this are the flying enemies. Let's make them yellow so we can differentiate between them. And for the enemy, not the enemy, or player, we need to reference our player and also the enemy movements. So let's select all 7 of them and let's put them under the enemy movement. ground and flying. I did this. Okay, now it is correct. Now let's hit play and let's see what issues are going to arise. The object of type enemy manager has been destroyed and you are still accessing it. So as you can see, the ground enemy is where did it get destroyed? Missing reference exception. So let's hit play again. Okay, I see the issue here. Player movement. Player movement. The object of type examples has been destroyed, but you are still trying to access it. Access. Any movement dot move towards. Okay, so I think there would be an issue with the ordering here. So in the start, if player transform, enemy movement. The object of type player movement has been destroyed, but you are still trying to access it. So where is the player movement? No issue here. So let's hide both of the scripts and see if it is going to cause any problem again. There is not an issue. Flying enemy movement. I think the issue is related to Unity editor. There is no problem with the code itself. Now let's go to the next task where we have to create the puzzle elements. So it only has 3 scripts, nothing complicated. 2 puzzle elements and puzzle interactor, which is also going to check if the puzzle is finished or not. So first we have the pressure plate. And next we have the rotary and finally the player puzzle interactor. And scripts are also going to be pretty simple. So let's go inside Visual Studio. And let's first start with the pressure plate. So the issue with the pressure plate is we just need to check if the pressure plate is pressed. So let's put it in the correct namespace first. And we are going to need to create the interface, and we'll just call it I puzzle element. And inside the I puzzle element, we have going to have the bonus solved, void interact, and finally get text. And the pressure plate is also going to implement the I puzzle element interface. And first, it is going to have the public mode expressed, public material for the pressed material, and public material for the unpressed material, private renderer for the plate renderer, and inside the awake, we'll set the plate renderer, and we'll update the material for the plate. So update plate appearance. This salt is just going to return as pressed. Public void interact is pressed is just going to switch. And we'll also do debug.log. Pressure plate is now pressed or unpressed. And public string get in text step on the pressure plate to activate. Release pressure plate or press pressure plate. Private void get plate appearance, and again pretty simple. Next we have the rotary dial. So again it is going to be similar. Namespace less than 10 tasks, it is going to inherit the I personal element. And first we are going to have a public end for the current rotation 0, and public end target rotation, and we'll just set it randomly to 2. And then we are going to have a public material array for the dials materials, and public renderer for the dial renderer. And similarly, inside the awake, we'll set the dial renderer to be equal to get component renderer, and we'll update the dial. And installed is just going to return if the current rotation is equal. And interact is going to switch the rotation and update the material. And get in text, rotate the dial to correct position. And similarly, updating the material for the dial. Now for the player puzzle interactor, let's put it in the namespace. Let's indent task. Private float interaction range, and public I puzzle element of array puzzle elements, and inside the start we'll set mono behavior and find objects of type mono behavior. We'll check. I mean, we can directly check inside the awake if puzzle elements. Nope. We are just going to debug.log. No elements assigned, and inside the update, we are going to test for the elements. So we'll do a recast in the forward direction. Recast hit, and puzzle element. Hit.collider.get component. If puzzle element is not equal to null, then we will debug.log, and if that should do that right. Physics.recast bool if out hit, and again so many if statements to complicate it, and check and track, and if we have tracked, we are going to check the puzzle completion. If element is not solved, then we are going to return. So nothing complicated here. If the puzzle is solved, then enable the constant pass. That should be it for the puzzle. Now, for the puzzle to work, let's head. Let's add the player puzzle interactor and public puzzle element arrays. We are going to need both the pressure plates, so let's duplicate the enemy and let's position it at 1-1. Let's show it up, remove the flying enemy, and let's add the pressure plate, and the pressed material is going to be, let's set pressed to be green and unpressed to be red. And similarly for the enemy head, let's move to the left, and this one is going to be the rotary dial. Let's remove the pressure plate, and we are going to need 4 materials, and let's choose randomly green, blue, pink. the issue mm, what is the issue? Both of them have the high puzzle element. The player has the player puzzle interactor. Awake debug.log warning. Okay, we need to press E. Puzzle element dot interact. So let's see if we can interact or not. Player 0, both of them are at 0. What could be the issue? If there is no element. Mm, Now let's see transform.position and transform.forward. I just it is not interacting. I get it. Maybe it doesn't have the collider. It needs a sphere collider with a trigger. Must be non-negative and now again the issue. Now let's hit play. Now we should be able to interact with it. Rotate. Okay, so the only issue was with the Mhm. Mm, the collider was not attached, so that's why it was not doing the task correctly. And there's also one more issue, which is related to assigning the interfaces in the references. PLD assign interface inspector. Which okay, so we cannot directly assign it. Define your interface, create a mono behavior that implements the interface, create a script. So I think we are going to the player interactor, it is not assignable. Not assignable. Delete object method. There is no solutions. Okay. I mean, how we are going to solve the issue? So the interfaces are not directly assignable, I already knew it, but we need to assign inside the awake. So puzzle elements is equals to find objects by type, and here we are going to pass the I puzzle element and sort mode. Now, what's the issue? Cannot be used as generic. There is no implicit reference conversion. Okay, so there's an issue. Find mono behavior dot find objects by type mono behavior. Let's see what solution is given by find objects by type mono behavior. FMB is puzzle element. Okay. Puzzle elements. Instead of array, I'll create it as list. And using system.collections.generic, where beast is equals to find objects by type mono behavior. And here we are going to have the sort mode. Find objects by type mono behavior. No overload. Take 0 arguments. None. And for each. Okay, now that should do the trick. Now let's go inside Unity. Let's hit play and object reference. Okay, so found the error again. Let's go into Visual Studio. And here we need to set the puzzle elements new list. Now let's go inside Unity and let's hit play. And now there's not an issue. Rotate the dial, and this one is step on the pressure plate. Okay, so the puzzle is solved, and that was it for the task for this lesson.